The movie begins in the middle of a dream. We see an American soldier, Atticus Freeman, fighting his way through the trenches during a brutal battle, one of many fought during the Korean War. We hear a voiceover who narrates, saying that this is the story of a boy in his dream. The movie then snaps back to the harsh light of day in the 1950s, where Atticus sleeps in the back of a segregated bus. The bus breaks down and leaves the passengers stranded. Atticus and another black passenger decide to walk rather than to take the alternate travel sourced by the bus driver, which was a pickup truck owned by a local white man. Atticus informs his buddy that he is traveling to Chicago to return home after getting a strange letter from his father, Montrose. As they continue to walk, Atticus eventually arrives at the apartment where his uncle George, Aunt Hippolyta and cousin Diana live. After discussing with his uncle, the men later learn that Montrose left with a white man in a silver sedan. They make plans to leave for Ardham, Mass the next day. They're joined on the trip by Letitia Lewis, a family friend around Atticus's age who recently returned to town. They run into some of the sheriff's men, who have set up a roadblock. The cops march them into the woods and question them about a rash of burglaries, and it's clear the officers want to kill them. By now it's full dark, and there's a weird sound in the woods before some wild creature attacks the sheriff, shearing one of his arms clean off. Everyone is covered in blood, and there are more monsters nearby, so Atticus and Letty run. The beasts circling are reptilian, huge, vicious and hungry. They eat at least one of the sheriff's men. Eventually, George reunites with Letty and Atticus in the cabin where they found shelter. The next morning, a bloody and bedraggled Atticus, Letty and George walk to Ardham, arriving at a mammoth estate with a silver sedan in the driveway. A blond man with blue eyes opens the door, calling Atticus by name and saying they've been expecting him. The next episode begins with a hilarious montage of George and Letitia relaxing in their house guest rooms. Meanwhile, Letitia can't believe how many clothes are exactly her size in her closet. But Atticus does not share their joy, and he soon discovers that they do not share his memories of the previous night. It's as if someone erased Letty and George's memories of the forest horror. However, Atticus remembers everything. Atticus is eventually stripped down to his robes and forced to stand in front of a wooden door-looking thing. The lodge members encircle him. Braithwaite begins chanting. Strange energy begins to flow around the room, and the portal appears to be about to open. Then he notices a pregnant slave on the other side of the portal staring at him. Ruby is suspicious as Letty walks her sister up to a large home in a white enclave in Chicago. That feeling is reinforced when Letty announces that she has purchased the property and plans to convert it into a place where black people can rent affordable rooms. So Tick and Letty follow a priestess-type woman around the house as she attempts to spiritually cleanse it, eventually ending up in the basement. At the same time, 3 of the racist neighbors break into the house, unbeknownst to Letty and Tick. The cleansing appears to be proceeding smoothly until the spirits of all of the test subjects and Epstein appear. In A History of Violence, the trio's mission is to find missing pages from the Book of Names. This is fortunate for Atticus and Letty, because Montrose is likely to know where those pages are, because he has spent so much time digging around for information in his research on his late wife's family. The 5th episode begins with a white woman sprawled in the middle of a circular bed in an empty room, as if she were the star of a mid-90s music video. We soon learn that this woman's name is Ruby, and her affair with Winklevis has turned her white. To be honest, I wasn't expecting this after he drank her blood and performed amateur chiropractic by having sex with her on a staircase. It's not the outcome Ruby expected, as we see her go through all the body swap comedy tropes. Mirror shock, stumbling around in night clothes, and then being split open like a chrysalis by Winklevis, while a news report about African locusts plays in the background. Ruby returns to her old self after the gruesome first transformation, but she gains the ability to transform into the white version whenever she wants if she drinks the potion. The scenes in which she discovers what life is like on the other side have the slightly satirical quality of Eddie Murphy's SNL sketch, in which he discovers what it's like to be white. White Ruby, now known as Hillary, has positive interactions with cops, receives a free ice cream cone for her whiteness, and eventually gets an interview at the department store, where she is discovered to be so overqualified that she is immediately promoted to assistant manager. She takes it all in with a wide-eyed, shocked but delighted hunger. The 6th episode introduces Jae-ah, a naive nursing student in South Korea. Jae-ah is obsessed with American films, particularly those starring Judy Garland, and aspires to live the bright and colorful lives she sees on screen, complete with the goal of falling in love with a handsome Hollywood hunk. Jae-ah, like Garland's Esther, is unlucky in love and extremely shy when it comes to dating. This issue is exacerbated by her mother, Soon-hee, who insists on her bringing a man home. Jae-ah is possessed by a kumeho, a nine-tailed, evil fox spirit found in many Korean folklore and legends. She can only free herself by devouring the souls of 100 men. This is demonstrated when Jae-ah picks up a man in a bar, takes him home, and impales him mid-sex with her many tails, which protrude from her every orifice, sucking the life and memories out of her victim until he explodes into a bloody pile of goo. Jae-ah and Tik bond over books and their shared feelings of alienation as Jae-ah plots to kill Tik for vengeance and her final soul. Tik tells Jae-ah about the discrimination he faces at home and how he escapes through books. Jae-ah, unable to explain her true self, later tells Tik that she cancelled the meeting because she knows what he did to her friend. Tik claims he was simply carrying out orders and is perplexed as to why Jae-ah agreed to go out with him in the first place. She admits she wanted to kill him, but she now has genuine feelings for him that she has never felt before. "We've both done monstrous things, but that doesn't make us monsters," she says. Tik is told he can return home as we enter winter 1950. After months of being a couple, he invites Jae-ah to join him, saying that they can make a life together in America. Jae tells Oz come out to play as they have sex. She tries to stop them, but not before suctioning themselves to Tik's face and reading his memories, violent abuse as a child, torturing her friend, and so on. But it's not just the past. Jae also sees Tik's future, which includes him in bed with another woman, and, eventually, what appears to be his death. Tik has left terrified and perplexed by what has just occurred. In the 7th episode, Hippolyta awakens on a futuristic planet, able to teleport herself wherever she wants. Paris in the 1930s, Africa in the 1800s, and back in bed with George just before he left for Artem. A woman with a robotic appearance explains that she has not imprisoned Hippolyta. In fact, Hippolyta is freer than she has ever been. She simply needs to name herself in order to become the person she has always wanted to be. Hippolyta is then transported to an all-women warrior tribe in Africa, where she learns how to be a woman who does not cook, clean, or raise children for men. Tik picked up the Lovecraft Country paperback during his brief trip to the future, where he also learned of Letitia's pregnancy. Their child is George Freeman, who will grow up and write the novel about his family. Some of the details differ, Tik explained. Christina is a man. Uncle George made it through Artem, and Dee has a boy named Horace. Tik cast his protection spell with Montrose as assistance, and nothing happened. Christina's application of the Mark of Cain to Letitia's stomach was more dramatic. Dee is comatose and physically transforming into a Topsy demon after being cursed by Captain Lancaster and attacked by Topsy and Bopsy. Her hair is transitioning from a combed-out crown to terrifying tight little pigtails. The adults are gathered, including Ruby, Letie, Tik, and Montrose, to figure out what to do. They keep recommending new spells to try. They eventually call in Christina, who can reverse the spell but not break it, giving Dee only 24 hours before she is turned again. In the final episode, Ruby appeared with a bottle of Christina's blood. Just as the Freemans and Jae were about to leave for Artem, Montrose laid down salt in Artem. Tik consumed flesh and blood. Jae and Hippolyta drew symbols on the bridge, and Ruby and Letie drew symbols on the tower. Ruby, on the other hand, was Christina, and she threw Letie off the tower. Everyone was apprehended, and Christina was able to finish the ritual by killing Tik. Letie had survived the fall, despite the reappearance of the Mark of Cain. She began the spell, but because the bottle lacked Christina's blood, they needed a connection with her and Tick's bodies. Jaya connected them with her tails, and the spell protected Christina and all white people from magic. Hippolyta gave Montrose a letter from Tick, proving that he was aware of his impending death and had accepted it. They abandoned Christina, who was pinned to the ground. Diane arrived, accompanied by her new monster pal and her new robotic arm, which she used to murder Christina. The recap ends here. If you enjoyed this recap, please give it a like and subscribe to get more of our recaps.